I call the meeting to order. As we are waiting for the Mukono District Land Board members to arrive, we can still go ahead to hear the petitioners, what they have on that, so that we can, when they come, we proceed at once. So, the petitioner, you can proceed to submit your issues pertaining to the Nkoko land in Nkoko estate land.
Chairman, amanya gange nze Mukibi Geoffrey mbeera Kireku na Kifuma Mukono district. Abaami bano bonna twakuli ku kyalo kimu batwakwera ku kyalo ekyo nga tupangisa era okulimira ku faamu eyo gye bayita Nkoko nga tulimirako kasooli ne muganda waffe omu yafa ayomita Hajji Biriiti eyaleeta ekirowoozo nti tunoonye bannannyini ttaka lino tulirimireko mu butuufu kuba twali twagala kusimbako mmwanyi ezitagenda kuvaawo nga bwe twali tusimbako kasooli. Naŋŋamba nti ne twewula twalina ekibiina ne twewulamu ssente ne bazimpa ne ntandika okunoonyereza ku nnannyini ttaka. Natusookera ku custodian board mwalimu omwami ebiseera ebyo byali omuyita Male wali wansi naŋŋamba nti ettaka ani aliko ne mugamba ffe tulipangisa ffe tulirimirako. Naŋŋamba nti tetusiriraba mu bitabo byange wabula mugira mugenda mukola bwe tulirizuula nti lyaffe tulibayita n'entambula n'enzirayo ne mbanyonnyola. Neŋŋamba tekijja tumala ne ŋŋenda e Mukono mu district land board ne bakebera mu kalamazo nga balina ettaka eryo ku buloti ne buloko ne baŋŋamba nti owatuwandiikira ebbaluwa mu butongole n'otusaba mu buwandiike. Era ne tuddayo ne bannange ku kakiiko akasooka ku kyalo ne katuwa ebbaluwa n'akookubiri ne katuwa ebbaluwa ne tudda ku ka disitulikiti ne batugamba musasule omusolo ne tumala okugusasula ne tufuna ekyapa. Bwe twamala okufuna ekyapa ekiseera ekyo ne wajjawo obutakkaanya abakastodiani batugamba twafuna ettaka lyabwe ne tubagamba bwe tuba twali ne tuwatuukirira omukulu Byakatonda oyo twamutuuka waliwo omuganda waffe azaalibwa omukulu Sheikh Kamulegeya bamuyita Kansose Wankamba n'atugamba mumpandiikire ebbaluwa nti tujja kubatongoza mu mbeera yonna nga mumaze okusasula emisolo gya gavumenti. Awo we twakoma okuwulira tetwaddako kumuwuliza ne batugamba nti ettaka baaligabidde omwami gwe bayita Tabbu Egesa era tuliveeko.
Oyina ekikakasa nti baaligaba?
Kati ne tutandika ne tuddukirako mu ofisi ya president ne batubawandiikira ebbaluwa tebaakoma awo ssente ne tuteekamu ng'entambula bw'obimanyi ne tutunda emmwanyi ab'ennyaanya ne tuzitundira ku misiri ne tuvaayo president ne babawandiikira ebbaluwa bo ne bagamba ettaka baamaze odditunda baali wadde Tabbu Egesa. Ne tugenda ewa RDC n'abawandiikira ebbaluwa ng'ebayita both sides. RDC n'abawandiikira ebbaluwa ow'e Mukono ng'abayita
yani RDC
Mwabitu Mwine Bamwine akimanyiiko nnyo n'abawandiikira ebbaluwa bajje nga ekyalo kye kisisamadde kubanga bajja n'amaanyi poliisi bajaasi ne basula ku saiti ne baleeta n'ente ne baziteekako ebirime byaffe ne babisaawa. So ne bagamba nti ettaka baaliguze mu custodian board tuliveeko ne twekubira enduulu ewa RDC n'abawandiikira ebbaluwa ne bagaana okujja emirundi ebiri. RDC n'atugamba nti kati mulina kugenda mu kkooti binsobedde. Ne tukwata kanso waffe ne tugenda ne batuyita mu land office within olunaku lumu ne bagamba ekyapa bakisazizaamu bwakatwala ne bagana tulina obusobozi kubanga twewolamu tulina amabanja mangi mutukkirize twewole ageni twegule tudde ku ttaka lyaffe nga bwekadde tubikozesa ne bagenda efayiro eyo ne bagitwala ekibuli immediate ne baginvestinga ne bagana tuliko muki obukyama so bwe twakoma twali tuli awo nga n'omuyindi agamba naye ye ng'aleeta ekyapa ne batuyita mu land office ne batugamba ekyapa kyaffe bakisazizaamu twaliyo Dr. Byakatonda n'omukyalo oyo so yensonga lwaki tuzze mu kakiiko kano katuyambe naye amabanja gagenda tutta ne twewolako batubanja ate tetulina kyakuba.
Before I go to custodian board, we have got a lot of complaint that among custodian board members, there is one who has a brother at CID headquarters in Ichiburi. So they are using that brother of theirs to tell lies. All those they find him, they invite them to CID on pretext that they have a case. Moreover, that is their own, and they are using him to intimidate members. But I think before we proceed to custodian board, having heard that, I want to ask a senior land of Mukono. Yes, how did you come to give out a certificate on the land which belongs to custodian board?
Mr. Chairman, these people applied for land and they filled the appropriate forms and they routed the forms through the appropriate committees, the area land committee, and they even had a backing of the LOC, though it is not a requirement, but they had a letter from the LOC. And they applied for land which they say they occupied. And the land board allowed their application and told them to survey the land. So they returned the deed plans reading the Chagwe Block 35, Lot 8. And the board went ahead and requested the Register of Titles to issue a title. Mr. Chairman, when the process, throughout the process, the records never showed that there was any existing title. And later when I was summoned at police, that's where I got information that there was a title made in 1924. And the nature of the plotting number on the 1924 title looked exactly as plot 8, block 35. When I asked our surveyor why could this happen, could have happened, he told me that the old title did not have a block or the plotting number, so it was easy to make that mistake. So, and indeed the system did not detect it because now this looked like a new title with a block and a plot, yet the old title has a volume and the folio and the acreage, that's all. Mr. Chairman, in the land administration, those earlier titles, this title, as I said, it was made in 1924, is among the first titles to be made. The system of numbering the block and the plots had not begun. That system came later in the 60s, and the old titles were never summoned to be updated. So where we have committed mistakes like this, it's because of that. The surveyor can go and survey as if land is bare, has never been titled, the deed plan is issued, but when you check, someone could be having an old title. That's how we made. And this is the information we took to the land board, and the land board recalled the minute which he allocated the land to these people, and the commissioner went ahead and cancelled the title.
Before the cancellation of the title, did you have a locus to deal in a property of custodian board?
Mr. Chairman, Mukono never made any locus list. Processes also cancelling the title. Most of the processes take place in the Office of the Commissioner and Registration. is the one who conducts a hearing, and if need be, he inspects the land. So, but I was not part of that process.
So in Mukono, for you, if someone wants a land in Mukono, he just come and tells you, I want this land, and he fills, and you tell them to fill the papers, and you give him the land. You don't go, you don't visit the locus.
We don't visit the locus. It's the area land committee which visits the locus.
So you depend on the area land committee?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Where is the surveyor? Because I remember last time we asked you to come with him.
The surveyor yesterday never worked, so I didn't see him.
Where are other members? You mean you are the board?
She's the secretary land board, the chairman, and other members have told us that they will come.
If we finish this thing when they are not yet here, we are going to arrest them. Remember, you're on bond. So we are not going to waste our, we don't have enough time. So people need to be serious.
I agree, Mr. Chairman.
They knew this thing, or have been postponing several times. If you had issues, you would have used this period of time to sort them out, and we proceed at once. We also have a time limit. So if we finalize this when they are not here, we shall remain with you until they come.
Mr. Chairman, that would be unfair because for us we are...
Because we asked for the board, and they are not, even the chairman is not here.
Mr. Chairman, everyone is fully aware that we are supposed to give...
So when they come, we shall release you to go, we remain with them. So, custodian board.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, what the petitioners have put across that's the correct information. Honorable Chair, upon learning that the Mukono District Land Board had dealt in this property and offered a certificate of title to Nantumbo Justin, Mugisha Paul, Mukivi Geoffrey, Senkumba Medi, Wakwaya Majid, and Rutakome Isaac. I will check in our archives, and indeed there was a temporary file. And on the temporary file, at that time, there was no some concrete evidence. Honorable Chair, through the divestiture committee, we facilitated them to go and visit locus. Honorable Chair, with me I have a report from the divestiture committee, and indeed the report revealed that this property belonged to Kassan board and it was expropriated. But at that time we could not establish whether the repossessors were evident on the ground or did they come back physically to repossess. At that time we couldn't establish that. But what we established that this was an expropriated property which couldn't have been dealt with by Mukono Land Board whatsoever, because there was no dot of law to support their dealing. Honorable Chair, we used our system through the divestiture committee and temporarily allocated that land to save it from any fraudulent acts.
Mr. Bizibu, there is some where I want you to explain more so that we can comprehend and follow like with you. When you heard that the Mukono District Land Board, though they didn't have a locus to deal in the property, but they had dealt in the property, and there was sitting tenant whom they gave a certificate of title. Mind you, in their explanation, they wrote to custodian board under the leadership of Mare, when they knew that maybe this land is for custodian board. They went to custodian board to regularize. They wrote to them. When they wrote to them, they didn't get any information. Now they kept on, they went to district land board, which district land board gave them the title. That means they were doing a due diligence to ascertain who really the owners of the land. Having known that, did you invite them to sit with them before allocating it to a different person? Because these were the sitting tenant, the sitting people on the land. And indeed they had already, according to the facts they have, they had already come to custodian board. They wrote custodian board. Why did you go invite them first? And two, you are going to answer them together. And two, if you find someone on your property, let's assume it's your property, did you start by going to LRDs to CIDs, or you have internal mechanism where you invite those people and you talk to them first?
Honorable Chair, on record, I don't have any such communication that my predecessor left on file. Honorable Chair, actually we didn't start.
You have the letter you wrote to Mare?
Yes, we twamala nga tutegedde wekitiibwa twawandiika ebbaluwa twagiwandiika na Mukono.
Do you have a copy?
Ebadde ku file awo in 2017.
Which file? This one you have given me? You gave it to me with this. So if you have not put it on the file you have submitted, you would submit it before us.
Honorable Chair, I don't have any communication of that nature on file. And
but should it prove that they wrote and custodian board received then?
Upon submission, we can verify, Honorable Chair.
Okay.
Honorable Chair, we didn't start with the CID as being claimed. Honorable Chair, the divestiture committee visited the site, visited the locus.
When they visited, they didn't find people there?
No.
Sure?
Actually, they even met the chairman, according to the report, the chairman LC1 of the village, who granted them access to the estate for the locals at small, and the chairman also informed them that the chairman was the one renting it out to some people who are doing some cultivation.
Mugambye bajja tebabasanga westaka lyali jerere.
Sebo bajja lwebasooka okujja bajja abantu nga bana. Bajja n'omwami nga bamuyita Mulindwa n'omukyalo oyo be basooka okujja ku site nga bamutwaye tulima. Waliyo ne chairman omu bamutubbako olw'ebyenfuna nga bw'obimanya ennaku zino oyo gwe boogerako. Ye chairman yaliko omukadde baali bamuyita Kiraka. Ffe gwe ono omulala bamubba ali mu ngalo zaabwe, so ffe tetukyamulina mu mikono olw'ensinga bw'etambula. Naye nga twaliwo ono omukyala bajja mu motoka n'omwami oyo ne tubalaba ne bagamba chairman ndi n'ettaka lya custodian board, bwe twaddukira naffe okuvaayo okujja mu custodian board nga tutegedde nti custodian board yazze ku ground.
Gwali mwaka ki ogwo?
Yali 2019 nga ne kasooli kwali kubanga ffe twali tulima mu padocos n'ebikajjo wansi, era efaamu eyo tebagimalaayo, bagikoma eno waggulu kuba eri eriraanyeeyo Kisonzi waggulu waliwo Kisonzi yo bayindi abalala bwe bagitunda ne balimamu ebikajjo yo tebagifaako. Ne tugamba ffenna tuli balimi, bali abakisonzi nga tebabafuddeeko bazze ffe olw'okuba nti bali bayindi ffe tuli baddugavu. Ssebo y'ensonga eyo.
Honorable Chair, now it is becoming more evident that these ones came in 2019, but the divestiture committee visited the locus on 7 September 2018. Meaning that these ones came March
2019 nga bamaze okukola okuddira
owekitiibwa
ettaka erimwalijjako ddi
nze banzadde ku kyalo okwo nga gye tulimira muwogo gye tulimira amatooke nga waliwo omugga gwe bayita Ssezibwa gwe tuyitamu ne tujja mu Kireku ettaka tulivuunuka buvuunuzi ne tuyita mu ssamba y'ebikajjo gye bayita ekisonzi ne tuyita mu Namanyonyi ne tudda ewaffe ngene ewaffe tekyabala mmere buli omu alimira mu ssamba eyo eyankoko
ekyapa mwakifuna ddi
2019 okukituwa naye nga twali twawandiika 2017.
Then, Honorable Chair, for the interest of this
2018.
Mwakifuna 2018
ekyapa.
Honorable Chair, for the interest of this honorable committee, whereas we had those facts on the temporary file which I found in the archives with the Honorable Malay. When I had all this, I was prompted to check further and study this property deeply. That's when I got another property file in the archives in the Ministry of Finance, which showed me that actually the possession was effected in 1993, 15th December. That's when we came to learn also that the property which we were trying to deal in actually was a freehold property, meaning that it was owned in perpetuity. Then I had to communicate to the agents of this property. Who
are the agents?
The agents are the Nkoko advocate. Just a moment, Chairman. The Nkoko advocates and the solicitors.
The agents of who?
The agents of Amirali Kamalari Zavari.
I have a narrative here, if you can allow me to read through, but some sections of it. So the custodian board asked the ladies to show legal nexus, that is Amilal Kalmal, to Mr. Amilal, the legal nexus, to Mr. Amilal Kalmali Zavel, either by way of will or letter of administration and all powers of attorney. But to date, the ladies have produced no document. Instead, the ladies engaged a lawyer, one Okul Emmanuel of Eruko Advocates and Solicitors, who has been representing them to date. My question, are these, because now this comes from you, from custodian board, this narrative I'm reading, does that mean that because this person you are talking of, who did repossess, who did have a nexus, because say he didn't have a nexus and he has not brought the documents to prove that, does that imply that the property was rightly repossessed?
Honorable Chair, the intricate part of it is this property falling under a lease, a freehold. Actually, Honorable Chair and members, the daughter to Amirali Kamal Zaveri, I can't say that she's the real daughter, but she came from Canada. She came to claim this property. Then we gave her benefit of doubt to go back to Canada, bring all the documents showing the nexus, her nexus, to this proprietor.
Did she bring the documents?
That's when this lockdown came in.
research. So you mean you're still conducting repossession?
Not conducting repossession. She has all the documents pertaining to repossession.
What are you saying? Was the land repossessed?
Yes.
How why did you then give it out? Wait a second.
Honorable Chair.
So the land was repossessed?
Yes.
Now you're bringing in something different.
That's what I'm trying to belabor, to explain.
Yeah, just a second. The land was repossessed, and you continue to give it out.
No, before you come in, please, wait. Because you said the land was repossessed. And you gave out an allocation on a repossessed land property. Is it a practice?
Honorable Chair, if you can follow the genesis, the genesis of our action depended on the production of a title which was issued by Mukono District Land Board. That was an eye-opener that there is something very fishy. Then upon getting that information, we were kindled to learning the truth. Then we visited locus. When we visited locus at that time, there was no trace of any evidence that this property could have been repossessed. And at that particular time, we had only a temporary file, which was left behind by Honorable Malay. Then it pushed us further to dig deep in the archives. That's when we got another file, which file revealed that this property was owned by the Camaralis and it is a freehold property. Then we were also pushed ahead to find out who are the real repossessors. So the repossessors, through their agent, they approached Kaswan Board. Then we pushed them back to bring evidence to show.
My question, Mr. Vizibu. If they repossessed, having sold the report, that means they came. Why then, what did they based on to repossess that property, which now in 2018, you are asking them to go and bring?
Honorable Chair, as per the law, which I have been alluding to time and again, they are supposed to show evidence that whereas they were authorized to repossess, they were here physically operating.
You mean you sent them to bring the document to show that they are here operating, or which type of documents did you send them to bring?
Actually, as we talk, we are gathering information from the area leaders, from the register.
Let me ask a simple question. Let's go slow to ascertain the DNA of this land. It was freehold, so it wasn't leasehold, okay?
It wasn't leasehold. That's what we later on learned.
Let's go slow. It was repossessed and the repossession certificate was picked.
Yes.
So the Minister of Finance acted on this land already?
According to the current information we are having now.
So how then did you allocate the same land? What was the divestiture committee doing on the land now?
Actually, the divestiture committee at that material time went to ascertain the availability of the land.
You said after the report of the divestiture committee, you went ahead and issued the temporary allocation to Mr. Tabo Egesa.
Yes.
So is this temporary allocation valid?
Come again?
Is this temporary allocation valid?
Honorable Chair, after verifying the authenticity of the documents we have now seen, it can't stand.
Have you withdrawn it?
We are waiting for the submission of the surveys.
No. Have you withdrawn? Because now the question, it doesn't even have to wait. The surveys to submit. You said you already acted upon it. You can't act twice upon the same land. And yes. That's why I started my questions carefully. And the question, one, was it repossessed? You said yes. Was the repossession certificate picked? Yes.
Yes.
And if it was picked, why then did you act upon it the second time? Because now I'm not looking at their issue. their issue will come in as secondary. Because since then, after that, it changes the two fighting parties. Now the fighting parties in this case legally should be Zaveris versus them. It can't be you, because for you already gave this land to Zaveris. Actually, there is no way they should even interface with Tapwe Gesa, because the question is still very simple. If you already gave back the land to the owner, so who are you allocating this land?
Legal counsel, even then, how did they go ahead? Because now they knew the land doesn't belong to them. They already dealt in it. How did they go ahead to cancel the title? To cause the cancellation of the title.
Honorable Chair, the cancellation of the title is based on two fronts.
Were you representing the Zaveris? Because you had already given them...
We are representing the interest of custodian board.
Where is now the interest of custodian board, which had already seized?
Honorable Chair, the situation under which we started operating in this was before we got the second file from the archives.
Now let's assume. Now, having read all both files, do you know that you did have a locus to cause the cancellation of the title now?
Honorable Chair, we need to sit with the divestiture committee. Then.
No, because now we know. You have the facts.
Yes.
You didn't have the right to deal in the property which you had already dealt in. Now, don't you think that causing the cancellation of the title was wrong on your side? Based on the facts you have now.
Based on the facts?
Yes, you have.
By the way, it was correct to cancel the title.
How? Why? By you?
Actually, it's not us who cancelled.
You are the one who caused it. You are the one who caused it. And you are the one who took the Mukono District Land Board, who invited them to custodian board to the CID, and in several meetings you held.
And you see, Mr. Chairman, just a second. Let me tell you one thing. Let's be very clear with this. With the enactment of the Constitution of 1995 of the Republic, okay, the Zaverias had ceased to be citizens of Uganda. And what does the supreme law of the land talk about? Ownership, land tenure, ownership of the land. If you're not a citizen, do you still have the right to own it in freehold? It's a simple question. It's a question of law. Land officer, does any person who is not Ugandan, can they continue to own land in freehold or milo?
No. Foreigners, non-citizens cannot hold land in perpetuity. They cannot own customary land, they cannot own freehold or milo.
Now, what happens to the land that was previously owned as freehold when the Constitution is enacted? Where does it revert?
I think those lose the land. They lose the perpetuity, the ownership in perpetuity. Okay. Because the law says, assuming if a non-citizen buys a mile of freehold, it becomes a lease of 99 years.
Correct.
So
then
they cannot claim a freehold as non-citizens.
So it reverts to the controlling authority. Okay. So now there are two questions for us to analyze here. Clearly now the custodian board has discovered that it had already acted upon the land, and therefore returned the land to the lawful owners who had repossessed it. Now, the repossessors did not actually return to control this land. By enactment of the 1995 Constitution that gives no exception to any other law, there is no foreigner that can continue to own land in perpetuity. Either they surrender their interests and get new lease, or a new lease is given to them. And inadvertently, the land returns to the controlling authority, which is either the Uganda Land Commission or the District Land Board. So the District Land Board fully had the power. You see, where they seized, where it would have been illegal for them to have powers over that land was if this land had not been
repossessed.
Now, the question is, Mr. Bizi, what the committee wants to know, and now that you also know, now that you discovered that this land was duly repossessed, and the repossession certificate had been picked, does this temporary allocation still suffice?
Yes, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, now it is becoming more evident that whereas the repossessors were authorized to repossess, they never returned physically to operate within the specified time.
Who picks the certificate? We've had Mama Juru here on different occasions saying people used to send their agents to pick certificates.
And when you were talking
so
about that,
we don't want circumstances to change. And one, and this one is correct, the other one is not correct.
And mind you, when you are giving the answer to this, you should also put in mind the answer you gave on Kajan's land.
Exactly.
Yes.
And on other lands, land patterns
we have been interfacing with you.
The question remains,
whatever you are giving, I have a narrative here, which I would read after giving your thing, to see whether it correlates clearly with what you have, because all of them, they come from custodian board.
And I repeat the answer you've normally been giving to this committee.
Yes, Honorable Chair.
And accepting
honorable
the wrong
members, because they sent their agents to pick the certificate,
yes,
inadvertently, it means they returned. Because they would appoint agents to pick their certificates. I repeat for avoidance of doubt. That was the cause of the clash between you and the chairman, the investiture committee on the matter of Kajans.
No.
I repeat, was the repossession certificate picked or it's still with you?
It was picked.
So if it was picked, do you have any doubt as to whether that land was repossessed?
Yes.
What is your doubt?
My doubt is, whereas the certificate issued under sections 4 and 5 is sufficient authority to transfer title and to the former owner. Now this would mean that if the repossessor returned in accordance with the law, this certificate of repossession would have been registered on title.
Wait a second. No. It's not automatic that you register it that day. There is no law to that effect.
Within 120 days.
Let me tell you, no. That's not the law. That's not the law. Don't preach us the law here, because you've not been following it. In any case, going back to the same point, that the repossession certificate...
It's a case on that.
Yes.
Of 120
you see, that
no longer surfacing, because there is a decided case on the same.
And we are going to go slowly to ascertain this. You said, one, the person should have picked the certificate, and they indeed picked the certificate. Whether they registered it within 120 days, that's a different business altogether. The issue here that I'm asking, and that you ought to answer to this honorable committee, is when they picked this certificate, have you seen anyone complaining that they did not receive their certificate? And this has been the question, that the complainant would have been that when my certificate was picked, it was not delivered to me. Because you can't be the complainant, you who issued the certificate. We can't keep changing goalposts every case by case.
And to lead the council, he said he was denying that they are not...
Is there anyone complaining that they didn't receive their certificate? Maybe to translate for our people. Chemubuza nti waliwo akayana nti certificate yete bagimuwa.
Actually, there is no record for anybody complaining.
Therefore, the repossession is not contested by anyone. Are you the ones contesting your own repossession? There is no one contesting their repossession. That's why I'm telling you, you can't keep changing goalposts from case to case. When we invite witnesses here and the agent picks the certificate, then you hear another case. Sir, it is fine. They sent their agent.
And Leading Counsel, I have a narrative here written to this committee. If I may read through this narrative, maybe we can have a different approach to this. Following your request that a narrative should be made with regards to the estate of above, the below are the key facts respectively. This narrative was written by Mama Juru, whom I think by then, the starting of repossession of the custodian board, he was party to the same. As at 1972, the property was registered in the name of Amilali Kalmali Zavel. On 15th December 1993, the property was repossessed by Amilali Kalmali Zavel. Note, that's what she has written. After repossession, Zavel did not register his interest within 120 days, as per the law. Instead, he registered his interest on 23rd October 1997. That is 4 years afterwards. That was a breach of Section 91D of the Expropriated Properties Act, Cap 87. Section 91D. But it says the owner must be here within 120 days. No, within, to be in the country within 120 days. It doesn't say to register.
Can I read that section?
Not to register. It must be within 1 day.
91D. Failure to claim. Where the former owner of any property does not apply, where the former owner does not having authorized to repossess the property or business under Section 6, the former owner fails to physically return and resigned in Uganda within 120 days from the date of authorization, the minister may make an order that the property or business be retained by the government, be sold, disposed of, and under this section, except that in case a registered proper business or enterprise, the minister may, on being satisfied that the minority interests of the business enterprises may unduly or prejudice be in it. Whatever here
even
it is,
then,
the issue says return,
yes,
of the person. It doesn't talk about registration.
2, how do you prove to this committee? Because now, within they said they never register the interest within 120 days. But thereafter, they did register the interest.
Because Mr. Chairman, it is very clear. Can we send out a blanket letter to all the people that repossessed properties? I want us to be moving in the same line, because we don't want case by case like they are writing narratives for one case. Can we send out a letter to all those that repossessed properties to give us proof that they returned within 120 days so that we act upon them? It cannot be selective, that when we reach this one, they give us a different narrative. When we reach another, they give us a different narrative.
Yes, when you look at Bukajans, let me proceed with the narrative they have written. Since the repossession in 1993, the estate was abandoned through report of the VIST of the Divestiture Committee to the estate of on 6 September 2018. There comes a question. If they registered the interest in 1997, that they registered the thing, how then? Because now there was a title of those people that have registered. Did you cancel this first title? Because there we know that you were across the following, the 120 days. Did you cancel this first title? After the Divestiture Committee visited the estate, it was allocated to one Gabriel Tabo Egesa on 10 September 2018. After allocation, Mr. Tabu, I was told, have not been at the estate lately, that Mr. Tabu brought a tractor number U8Y847Q and dug up the whole estate, brought cows, planted bananas, etc., inclusive of payment of compensation to some of the villagers who were using the estate to grow seasonal crops. Do you have evidence on that they were paid?
There's one evidence.
And after allocation, also the custodian board found out that the Mukono District Land Board had earlier on the issue issued the title to estate to 6 people, that is Nantumbo Justin, Pom Kiwi, Kiwi Geoffrey, Serum Kumamedi, Wanyama Majidu, and Rutankome Isaac. But now, why did you went ahead to cancel this title? Because you had already known that in 1997, there was a title where they registered. The repossessor registered the interest on that title. How did you then, why did you fail to cancel this one and you canceled the other one? Moreover, the land you had already issued, you had already given the repossession out. And you concede in your thing that there was an interest which was registered on the certificate of title on 23rd October 1997.
Mr. Chairman, that interest, that other title gets irrelevant because they did not register within 120
No,
days.
there is a Chairman Diversity Committee. Chairman Diversity Committee. There is a decided case on that.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Don't you know
Chairman, it's too much. We can't sit in a committee where Mama Juru keeps changing positions.
Mr. Chairman.
No.
This matter has been on for long.
No. Sit down. No. Council sit and we proceed.
It's a matter which has gone to court and has been before the Commission on Legislation.
No, you see, in the narrative, custodian board has, however, successfully worked through with the land commissioner land registration and with the cooperation of the Mukono District Land Board. The legal title was cancelled on 29th June 2019. You see, let me tell you, Chairman, you are going to jeopardize this investigation yourselves. We have all what you have been submitting on record. Why then, if that were the case, why is it still have the Benchwanka issue of Plot 14 of Semakula? Let me tell you guys, you should not act selectively. Where you feel you don't have interest, you leave the government to lose. Where you feel you have interest as individuals, then you come in.
That's true.
When you go to Kajan's issue, you come in to defend. When it comes here, because you have interest, you come in to say no.
Mr. Chairman, I think this is a matter, your guidance is really very true on this. We should be consistent.
You see, because first of all, there's a decided case on 120 days on that. Because if these people wouldn't have come back, they wouldn't have registered their interest in 1997. That's one. Two, because you had already issued a title, I mean the repossession certificate, you didn't have a locus again to deal in the same property. Several occasions, the executive secretary has been coming here mentioning the same. You remember the issue of Press House, where the government lost some money. You came and defended it. Why this? You should not take this committee. You guys. I think the committee, with the submission you have, the committee, by the time you really tried to work out this cancellation, I think you didn't have a locus to deal in that property because you had already dealt in it.
Mr. Chairman, there are a number of issues in pertaining to this property. You may find that what they call entering the title
was not done by the legal owners.
But the question is, that's what you have been always taking on. Did you dealt in this property? Because there are a lot of decided cases on that. That's why you have lost many cases basing on the same. Those cases you have been submitting to us, which you had lost. The question is, did you dealt in that property? Yes. You agree dealt in the property. We asked, did those people who did repossess, did they complain that they never received their certificates? We said no. Then we went to the legal point where in 1995, those who are not citizens of this country were not supposed to do what? To have the freehold. And with facts at hand, that means the land reverted back to the controlling authority, which is Mukono District Land Board. How then?
Mr.
You
Chairman,
again dealt in the same property and caused even the cancellation of the title?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to submit also on the matter at hand. Mr. Chairman, the former proprietor, as indicated on record, never physically returned.
But what information, what
Mr. Chairman,
we have been always moving with evidence. What evidence do you brought it? Table it before the committee.
Mr. Chairman, allow
Table
me.
it before the committee.
Just a minute and I bring the evidence. I have it in my vehicle. Mr. Chairman, the purported repossession does not stand as per the checklist. Because we are managing this property under section 2.1. We are managing this property under section 2.2b. We are managing this property under section 8. We are managing this property under section 12. All these are instructive provisions.
The first thing is, Chairperson.
Yes, Honorable.
Did you dealt this, the minister dealt in this property?
The property, the repossession was issued, but they never actually took it on.
They never?
They never took on the repossession process.
It was never picked?
Yes.
It was never picked?
It was picked by foreigners who were not actually privy to the property. That's the evidence.
How did, no, my question is, if did the owner complain that the person who picked the certificate was wrong, or was not, maybe he never delivered that the certificate to him?
Mr. Chairman, all the cases we have are people impersonating and really purporting to have entered the interests of the other former owners, whereas not.
My question is, why is it that the same scenario is a scenario which happened to Kajansi? Why do you shift your positions as custodian board?
Mine was actually clear on Kajansi, and I said it's a government property, and I gave my submission, and I stand by it.
I think
Honorable Chair,
I'm going to
just a minute, Honorable Chair,
this thing.
we request. Honorable Chair, relating this one to Kajansi is a bit intricate. Kajansi, whereas the process of repossession was handled, this people went ahead even to seek for a consent from the minister to deal in their property. They also went ahead to register their interest on title. So you see that the other one is at a certain level.
Ben Chiwanuka?
Ben Chiwanuka, actually we have the original certificate of title because that property was redeemed by government. Government paid the mortgage to the financial institution, and they have hold of the original certificate of title.
Why then do you go ahead with, why didn't you do the same for cancellation of the title of Ben Chiwanuka, which is very clear?
Yes.
Which was very clear that the government paid for that property. It is a redeemed property. You still have all the original title, certificate of, certificate of title. You do have it in your custody. You never went ahead to cancel all the subsequent titles on that land, and you went ahead to cancel the certificate of this property at hand, which you had already even dealt in, and now you go in technicality, and you fail to cancel the title where you have everything. What was so much interest in this?
Actually, what is bogging us behind on the issue of Ben Chiwanuka were only captured by the court process, because the court process was ahead of a situation. And if we dealt in it, we would be charged of contempt of court. But if the court issues are resolved, actually the procedure is upright.
Mr. Bizibu, I think it would be good and prudent for a person like you. You know, I always like your narrative when you are giving it to the committee, and I always take them as gospel truth and the truth, because whenever you give it, it keeps on correlating to the stand. But when it comes to this, I have a fear that I won't agree with you. I don't want to insinuate that you had a personal interest in the same, but I just want to believe that you have failed to agree within you that there was a mistake. Because according to your first submission, it indicates, I would agree, that at first you were dealing something you didn't know. But when you got to know, from the facts you have given us, when you got to know that you did, indeed you did issue the allocation wrongly, you considered on record that yes, that allocation, having known the second file, that allocation was wrong. Now, this thing which you are bringing in a technicality, the technicality you are bringing in, because if you are to go by law, that the 1995 Constitution, those people who hold that freehold in perpetuity, but now they are no longer a citizen of this country. That means that land reverts, automatically reverted back to controlling authority. And that is the Mukono District Land Board. Because it's the government which issued this certificate of title to those people.
Mr. Chairman.
If they go in court, again, it's the government which is going to pay. Custodian board is also a government body which issued the repossession certificate. I think we should not, the reason why this investigation were put in place is to save the government of losing the resources, the properties, and the money. That's why in terms of reference, we ask you among cases, those who are still in court, and also to link those cases we have won. Because if you bring 120 days as an issue now, when there is a decided case on the same, which you know,
Mr. Chairman.
Then I have a fear.
Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Kahonda.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I have some issues for clarification, and this goes to the Executive Secretary Custodian Board. Mr. Bizibu, was this property repossessed?
Honorable Chair, according to the current revelations, it was repossessed in 1993.
It was repossessed in 1993. Yes. That means the minister dealt with the property.
Yes, Honor.
What influenced the cancellation?
The cancellation of what?
Of the title.
Honorable Chair, the cancellation of the title was orchestrated by the Divestiture Committee.
Do they have the mandate?
According to the narrative of the Divestiture Committee.
No, don't go to the narrative. Do they have the mandate?
If they prove that the repossessors never returned physically to operate.
You see, what's surprising? The report was written on 7th September 2018. And 7th, within 3 days, the repossession, wait a bit, I'm going to give you. Within 3 days, the allocation was made. Really?
And Mr. Chairman, I think that maybe the Executive Secretary can remind the committee again. What is the process, what is the procedure of cancelling the repossession certificate?
The procedure of cancelling the certificate of repossession is by way of registering a case or complaining to High Court.
Was it done?
No.
So, that's what I was saying. That's why I was asking a question of what influenced the cancellation of the title, yet custodian body had already issued a repossession certificate. It's on record, Honorable Chair.
That's why the government is losing.
It's on record, Honorable Chair, that, and it was raised by Mama Juru, I think, when we were handling one of the properties. And it is very clear with the guidance of the Attorney General that once the certificate of repossession is already issued, then custodian board, you have no locus to deal with such a property unless it is handled by High Court.
If I may ask Mama Juru, if you still recall the narrative you gave on Plot 5, why custodian board would not deal in that process, in that property?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On Plot 5, Mackenzie Vale, the fellas came and they registered their interest within 40 days on the property. And they left in place people to manage it. They have been paying property rates to City Council. It means they were there, somebody was there in charge of that property.
But I'm going to check on the record.
Please.
Another submission you made, which the Honorable Honorable Kahonda has been referring to. Yourself, you made a way that when the certificate was issued, it can only be cancelled by the High Court, and there is a decided cases on the same. Yes, in the press house something, when you were giving on press house, I remember when you were, yes, that's what you submitted. Now my question is, what rush, what interest, what rush, because on 7th you wrote a report of when you visited the estate. On 10th, after 3 days, you allocated it. Did you have a body minute where you sat and agree?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What happened is that this property, a Gesa came to Custodian Board, Mr. Gesa Gabriel Tabt. He came and said, there's a property, there's an abandoned property in Mukono. Could you please allocate it to me?
But do you believe, to you, in the heart of, you always tell me when you talk to me, and wait, no, wait, you are going to answer, respond this. You always tell me when you take on your rosary here.
Yes.
And you say, oh my God, oh my God. Now, with that rosary you have put in your heart, oh my God, you always say, are you telling this committee the truth?
Absolute truth, Chairman.
Pertaining this property.
Let me finish for you the story. Mr. Gesa came to Custodian Board and said that there's...
My question is, the question we asked, did the Custodian Board issue the certificate of repossession? You said yes.
Yes.
What are the procedures if you are to cancel the repossession certificate? Did you go through such procedures?
Mr. Chairman,
did you go through such, this is a direct question.
Yes.
Did you go through the procedures of cancellation of the repossession certificate?
We have not done, but we are going to do it.
How did you go and cancel the certificate of title minus even going through the procedures of recalling the certificate of title?
Mr. Chairman, this
members,
did not come
I
back.
think...
maybe, Mr. Chairman, there is some... There are some facts which I hear you are not talking about. Because there was a civil suit. I want to tell you that there was a civil suit which Zaveri Shayada had filed, and had filed the civil suit against 10 people. And one of them was the departed agents property custodian board, and the number 10, defendant number 10, was the commissioner for land registration, including all these ones who had obtained the title. So why didn't they wait for the High Court to hear the case and issue an order? Because there was a pending suit and it is still there, civil suit number 52 of 2019. So why did they hurry up to cancel the title when there was a pending suit for cancellation of the title by the High Court? They should have waited for the process of court, but they hurried. So what I have noted from the deliberations, from the deliberations of the committee, Actually, you are handling the matter so well. That's why I'm so quiet. I can see that these people have a personal interest. They are not representing the interest of the government. They are representing their personal interest. That's why they are changing the goalposts from here to here to here to here. They don't have any position. They are protecting their interests.
Yes.
Thanks,
and they should be dealt with.
Thanks, Council. Mama Juru.
Yes, sir.
Is there any case in court, or was there any case by the Zaveris contesting the cancellation of the certificate of repossession?
By the time the certificate was cancelled, there was still no case.
Did you cancel the certificate of repossession?
No, they were challenging. They were challenging
the title that is cancelled.
They were challenging the certificate of title.
The title of which was
now. Did you now because that one is now that is trade also, Mr. My senior. Only that shows that you had a hidden agenda with that, because if even the repossession was still contested by the owner, how then, as custodian board, had to cancel the title? No. When you have failed even to cancel the repossession certificate. Really, let us be honest with ourselves. Despite the fact we have interest in this property, that interest, you chased it wrongly.
Honorable Chair, information here, like in May 2013, on 14th, Ataro Lowera, Commissioner on Registration, gave a search report to Amurari Kamari Zaveri. The search report is here with me. Chairman and the members, what puts us in a tricky situation? This mere search report being addressed to Amirari Kamerari Zaveri, that's a clear indication that it is the Amirari Kamari Zaveri who applied for this search report. And all this gave us a second thought, that whereas we are thinking that these people never returned physically to operate, they could play around. So members, and I can submit this one.
Members, on this, I think we need to verify more, because there is a lot of legal connotations which we need to read and verify on that issue. We shall direct the petitioners of this issue to give us that letter which you wrote to custodian board. The letter which you wrote to custodian board when you are complaining on the same, and also shall direct the custodian board to submit the original file, the photocopy of the original file to our clerk, so that on the date we shall invite you. No, you will submit with the file, the all two files. You can submit the photocopy of the all two files you have. So I adjourn this matter till 27th August 2020 at 10 a.m. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.